This is a machine that could change our world in ways none of us have ever dreamed. Imagine if all our energy needs were totally free. It would mean the end of power bills. No more visits to the gas station. Fossil fuels will become redundant overnight. And pollution would be a thing of the past. The poorer countries could rid themselves from the ravages of famine, and deserts could be turned into oases.
And here it is, a machine running without fuel, made for the future.
A future that could alter the entire social, economic and political balance of our planet. All over the world, there are individual inventors, scientists and techno-mystics who are dedicated to this obsessive quest. And having come together via the internet, they now meet in small groups and, talking in a techno-language few of us would understand, they have just one aim in mind: to bring us free energy.
We are going to have to go back to the basics, stuff that we have forgotten.
Anything greater than 100% is over unity.
The unit produced like 1.5 times more thermal energy than it took to
technology that claims that it gives it's a device like a transformer with a circuit with, you know, capacitors, inductors, coils,
whatever. Promising technology that we'll see soon. I have to think that's going to involve magnetism.
The magnetics, yeah, it stands a real good place, but the one that can be in place first is the hydrogen.
The world, in a period of months, the world will change.
Conventional scientists refer to believers in free energy as crackpots, conmen or kooks, because they work outside the current laws of physics, and they believe there are a number of free energy alternatives to fossil fuels and nuclear power, including anti-gravity as a power source, turning magnetic force into usable electricity, collecting energy from the sky, free energy motors that can recharge their own batteries, self-driven electromagnetic engines with enough power to put spacecraft into orbit, and of course, traditional perpetual motion machines that power themselves.
Is it important? Of course it's important.
Not only would free energy change our world, but it would also be the end of the fractious economy of oil.
And of course, governments are afraid of it, and societies are afraid of it, because suddenly there'll be an equalization of power. I mean, when suddenly the power companies no longer can charge you monthly bills, you know, and the oil companies, yeah, there's a lot of negative stuff, and I'm probably dead just from saying this, but a lot of people think like that, and they think it's possible that we can make these little devices that will let you produce energy. You become totally free.
Aldo Coster lives in a small village just outside Paris. He's a retired car mechanic who, for the past 50 years, has been obsessed with a single idea: to design the ultimate perpetual motion machine.
À peu près 70.
70.
Recently, his story was picked up by French journalist and author Jean-Pierre Lantin.
And one day, he got his first idea by working on a crashed car, and that was about 50 years ago, and he had this dream that in his mind would make him the equal of Faraday, Marconi, Edison, or Einstein.
As a single-handed project, this giant wheel is an extraordinary achievement in itself. Standing 5 stories high and weighing more than 20 tons, Aldo Costa claims it'll run forever under its own power with no fuel, and that it'll generate enough free energy to light up a small town. Flying in the face of conventional science, such a project inevitably attracts the skeptics, such as this man. amateur thespian, full-time engineer and part-time scoutmaster, the self-appointed policeman of the free energy movement, Eric Krieg.
For the past 7 years, I've had a prize offer of $10,000 out for proof of free energy, which may or may not be a perpetual motion machine. I've talked to many people from around the world who believe that they will soon get my prize, but as yet, no one has showed up to take the test.
Aldo Costa would have some difficulty in transporting his wheel from France to America, but with the help of Jean-Pierre, he sent Eric an email claiming the $10,000. Dear Monsieur Eric, I have constructed a perpetual motion wheel that will run forever with no fuel. Please, I would like to claim your $10,000 prize. Signed, Aldo Costa.
There have been some complex working devices. They've been called perpetual motion machines by the inventors themselves. As for Aldo Costa of France, I don't know too much about him. There is not much on the internet. He is a relatively new contender for the Perpetual Motion Prize, but you simply can't get energy out of nothing.
Eric Krieg has history on his side. Over the centuries, there have been literally thousands of perpetual motion designs, none of which have ever worked, and it has driven many a good man to despair, fraud, madness, and suicide.
What is important to understand about Aldo's work, if one wheel is not enough to generate much power, but if the system works, if hundreds of wheels in series could be constructed, it should be enough to generate power to the whole world.
To understand the extraordinary claims Aldo Costa was making, here is a classic perpetual motion design, and there appears no reason why it shouldn't work. The weight of the falling balls turns the main wheel, which in turn raises the elevator that brings the balls back up to the top for reuse. At the same time, the wheel operates this generator, and we have a fuel-less machine that will run forever, supplying us with free energy. Yeah, not quite. Unfortunately, the weight of the balls on the elevator, plus the friction of the various moving parts, together with the extra power needed to turn the generator, all add up to greater than the energy provided by the weight of the falling balls. So, fulfilling the current laws of physics, this machine wouldn't achieve a single turn of the wheel, let alone run forever. Now, as soon as you say, if perhaps the angle of the elevator could be a little less steep, and maybe the balls a bit bigger, then you're in deep trouble. You are in danger of becoming obsessed by perpetual motion and spending the rest of your life divorced from your spouse and married to a machine. As Aldo Costa would tell you, obsession is a hard taskmaster, but at last, after half a century, he claims he has overcome all the pitfalls of perpetual motion. And if he has, this machine is a real threat to those individuals, companies and countries whose fortunes have been underpinned by gas, oil and coal, plus perhaps others who have a vested interest in maintaining the status quo.
So far, since the machine is finished, Aldo has had visits from physicians from a lot of countries, actually, from Italy, from Canada, from Russia, and also some eminent French scientists, some of them member of the Science Academy, to establish if it's really what we can call perpetual motion or not.
One of my most popular web pages is my history of perpetual motion machines and free energy devices, which unfortunately reads like a litany of fraud, often committed by once sincere inventors that simply can't accept the prospect of failure. One such inventor was Charles Redheffer.
Here at the Franklin Institute, we have this wonderful Isaiah Lukens model of Charles Redheffer's perpetual motion machine, and it seems to have worked or didn't work by utilizing these inclines and weights and a very elaborate system of counterbalance. What the people saw was a device that apparently ran under its own power, but a young engineer by the name of Coleman Sellers thought he smelled a rat. Coleman Sellers realized that the larger wheel was actually pushing the power wheel. And he realized that by looking very closely at the cogs and saw that they were wearing out in the opposite direction. This model clearly shows that the machine was actually driven by a clockwork motor hidden underneath the machine, and that an attendant would actually wind the clockwork motor by pretending that he was dusting it on a regular basis.
Charles Redheffer had been charging the enormous sum for the day of $5 each for people to view his magic machine. So now, in fear of an angry mob, Redheffer hoofed it out of Philadelphia only to try his scam again in New York, this time exchanging the clockwork motor for a servant turning a handle in the room next door. Today, the prize for inventing a free energy system that could power the world is, of course, enormous. Way back in 1946, an inventor by the name of John Searle claimed he had designed a technology that used magnetics to produce unlimited free energy, and that he could use this technology to power a flying machine that could carry 2,000 people from London to New York in under half an hour.
It is built very simple. Round here is the actual drive part, which is, by the way, all electric magnetic system. Beneath, you will have 8 legs on the actual craft, and combine all, it will take 2,000 passengers. It will be economic to run because there's no fuel bill.
Why do you think people don't believe it?
Well, they never believed the motor car was coming, or the train, or the aircraft. So why should they believe about this?
John Searle persevered in trying to persuade others of his dream, and finally the media did begin to take him seriously.
The only person that has ever developed this technology is Professor John Searle. He did this from 1946 through 1978, I think the last one was done, and is capable of redoing it again.
This thing wanted to fly. So to me then, the easiest thing was to work on a body. Let it fly.
People say, well, you can't do this. You're going to upset the entire world economy. The whole economy is based on oil. We have, and it works, they're saying. Well, it works very well for the people who are running the economy, but not necessarily for everyone else.
And particularly not, it seems, for John Searle, who, according to some, was never going to be allowed to let his invention see the light of day.
I come from an ex-Secret Service background, where I was in electronic intelligence. John befriended quite a well-known figure in the States, a CIA informant. And it's only shortly after that, when John got back to UK, that things went horribly wrong for him.